All right, to get started here, got a problem of the day here for you. You've got a set of data on there, age and years. I want you to make a frequency table, a stem and leaf plot, and a histogram out of that. Remember, it is easiest to start with the stem and leaf first and then make the frequency table. So for example, if I'm making the stem and leaf plot here, I'm starting with the smallest age in that set of data. So 2 is the smallest. Then we have 3. We have a 4. We have a 6. And we have a 7. Okay, so then remember, I can use that information from my stem and leaf plot, and I can get my tally and frequency in my frequency table here. So from 0 to 9, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers there, and I can use that for my frequency table. Now what I can do, once I have my frequency table filled out, is it makes it really easy to make my histogram. Down at the bottom, you'll notice it also says find the range, mean, median, and mode of the data in number 4. That's the data in this data table. So use your stem and leaf is really going to help you, because when you make your stem and leaf, you're putting the numbers in order. So to get the range, you should be able to see, after you've made your stem and leaf plot, you should be able to see very clearly what the largest number is and what the smallest number is to find your range. Same with the median. They're all in order, so you should be able to just use your stem and leaf to find the median. It also helps with mode too, because it puts numbers that are the same, it puts them right next to each other, so it's easy to tell how many times a number is in the data. So go ahead and pause the video right now and go ahead and work on this problem of the day. All right, so let's take a look at your problem of the day here. Notice the stem and leaf, how many numbers we have in there. That matches up with the frequency table, and then the frequency column in the frequency table matches the height of the bars on your histogram. One thing to remember when you're filling these out, if you count how many pieces of data there are 18 pieces of data. So the frequency, the numbers in your frequency should add up to 18. And if I look at that, 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 6 is 17, plus 1, okay, there you know that adds up to 18. Okay, and that's, you don't have to do that, it's just a way to check to make sure you've accounted for all the pieces of data. Okay, then the other thing you had to do was get the range, the mean, the median, and the mode of the data. So now the range, you can very clearly see the largest number in the data is 30. You can see that on your stem and leaf, and the smallest number is 2. So 30 minus 2 is 28. Your mean, remember you have to add up all the numbers first. So if I add up all the numbers in the data, they're going to add up to 269. And then I have to take that 269 divided by the number of pieces of data, which is 18. So 269 divided by 18 comes out to 14.94, and that 4 repeats. The median, what you would have found out here is, because we have 18 pieces of data, that's an even number of data, we end up with 2 middle numbers, and they actually end up falling right here with between the 13 and the 14. So that's why we have to take 13 plus 14, which is 27, and then divide that by 2 to get to 13 and a half. Now that one you probably could have figured out in your head that, hey, right between 13 and 14 is 13 and a half. If you can do that in your head, that, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, what you can always do is add those two numbers up and then divide that by 2. So today's lesson is about box and whiskers plots. And a box and whiskers plot is just another way to visually represent a set of data. Okay, so our objectives here today are to explain the usefulness of box and whiskers plots for representing large sets of data, and then to learn the process for creating a box and whiskers plot. We're mostly going to focus on the second one there, how to create a box and whiskers plot. So looking at our notes here, again, a box and whiskers plot, just another way to visually show and describe the concentration and spread of data in a set. So you can see what a box and whiskers plot looks like, okay? And it gets its name, box and whiskers, exactly by what it looks like, okay? We've got the box right here, and then you've got the whiskers on each end. Okay, we've got the whisker here on the high end, and you've got the whisker down here on the low end. Okay, that's why it's called a box and whiskers. All right, so the first thing you need to do here is put the data in order. Okay, so if you see step 1, what they did there was put the data in order. Step 2 is to identify the lower and upper extremes. Okay, your lower extreme is just your lowest number, so in this case it's the 3, and your upper extreme is the highest number, which in this case is 17. Step 3 is to go ahead and find the median. Okay, again, the median is the middle number. In this case, your median is going to be 10. I'm going to draw a line through 10 here to show that that is the median. We'll just abbreviate it here, abbreviate it MED. All right. All right, our next step is to find the median of all the values below the median. This is called the lower quartile. So if I look below the median, which would be to the left, I've got 3, 5, and 8. So I need to find what's the middle number of 3, 5, and 8. Well, 5 is the middle number. I'm just going to draw a line through there. That's our lower quartile. The next part of this is to find the median of all the values above the median. So what I'm doing there is I'm trying to find the median of the upper half of the data. So that's 12, 13, and 17. Well, 13 is in the middle there. I'm going to draw that. That's my upper quartile. So now what we need to do is display this on a number line and make our box and whiskers plot. So your lower extreme, okay, our lower extreme was 3. So as you can see on the graph here, on the plot, we've got a line under the 3. Our lower quartile we found to be 5. So as you can see, we've got a line right below the 5 on the number line. Our median was 10, and as you can see, there we are right below the 10 on the number line. Our upper quartile was 13. Again, look at the number line. You'll see that that line is at 13. And our upper extreme was 17. And as you can see, we have the line there. So usually what I do is I make those 5 lines, and then you draw the box from the lower quartile to the upper quartile is where your box goes, and then you draw your whiskers out. From the lower quartile to the lower extreme is your lower whisker, and then you go from the upper quartile to the upper extreme for your upper whisker. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to make a box and whiskers plot based off this data that we have at the top of the page. So the first thing we need to do is put the data in order, which I've already done. So once I have it in order, it's really easy to identify the lower extreme and the upper extreme. Okay, it's just the lower extreme is the lowest number, upper extreme is the highest number. Now what I need to do is find the median. Now in this case, we get lucky again, and the median happens to be this 45 right here. Okay, and you'll notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers below the median, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers above the median. Okay, so we know our median here is 45. Now to get the quartiles, okay, so for the lower quartile, I'm just going to go to the middle of those 6 numbers that are below the median. So that's from the 39 to the 44. Well, in the middle there is between the 41 and the 42. Okay, now again, when it's in the middle of 2 numbers, you need to add them up and divide that number by 2. But between 41 and 42, that's pretty easy. I know that that's going to be 41.5. All right? And I'm going to go to my upper half, same thing. That's going to fall between 48 and 49. So that's going to be 48.5. Okay, so our lower quartile is 41.5. Our upper quartile is 48.5. Now what I need to do here is make my box and whiskers plot. So my lower extreme is at 39. My lower quartile is at 41.5. My median is at 45. My upper quartile is at 48.5. And my upper extreme is at 51. Okay, remember your box gets drawn from the lower quartile to the upper quartile. And then we draw the whiskers out to each extreme. And there we have a box and whiskers plot. Just a couple of things about a box and whiskers plot. The 2 we have made here, they've both been below the number line. It really doesn't matter if you make your box and whiskers plot above the number line or below the number line. That does not matter. The other thing about a box and whiskers plot, what we're doing here is we are splitting the data into 4 equal parts. Okay, so between the lower extreme and the first quartile, there's 1 part. You can see that in the box and whiskers. So I am talking about 1 part right there. The second part is right here. The third part is right here. And then the fourth part is between the upper quartile and the upper extreme. Okay. You can also see that if you look at the numbers we put in order, once we split it up, you can see that it kind of splits the data into groups of 3s. 39, 40, 41, that represents from the lower extreme to the lower quartile. Okay, 42, 44, 44, that represents from the upper quartile, the lower quartile to the median. Okay, so as you can see, it puts it into groups of 3 numbers. All right, so let me know when you're done watching the video here. I'll check it out. Make sure you have everything answered correctly and get you your assignment so you can get going on that.